Did you notice that you were sometimes robbed of the harmonic resolutions you were looking for? Well, so far things have not resolved the way we would have liked. Henry Bedloe has been acquitted of a rape after a jury deliberation of only 15 minutes. He was born almost 20 years after his parents married. They, privileged landowners, had suffered the death of 4 children in childbirth. Before Bedloe, 1 child had survived, a girl. Now they had a male heir. It's not hard to imagine that they might have indulged him, doted on him. But it's not easy to discern how one becomes such an unsavory character. Though the trial went in his favor, no one tried to paint Bedloe as a saint. There were many 4-letter words that could have described him, but the most apt was R-A-K-E, rake, and he ticked all the boxes. Everyone knew exactly who he was. Not so with Lana. Henry did not know who she was. She, as Dr. Sweet asserts, was easy to dismiss as just a sewing girl. Bedloe thought she would be easy to prey upon without consequences, but Lana had advantages of her own. Her grandmother had owned 2 houses before the war, her aunt married a wealthy baker, and her uncle had been an alderman. Bedloe wasn't aware of the gutsy side of Lana, nor her refusal to be silenced. He also didn't imagine a shrewd stepfather who would be relentless in defending her.
And was this body thine, this mortal frame decay, and must these active limbs of thy molding in thy brain, and must these active limbs of thy molding in God clay.
We have already heard words like innocence, modesty, and meekness aimed at young girls in textbooks from the Revolutionary period. We have discussed how allegories of Christ's love have been imposed on Song of Songs, probably because early Christians found the sensuality taboo. Thus, I don't think the importance of a revolutionary young woman's virginity can be understated. And she didn't simply lose hers, it was taken. This sad reality, along with the weight of the trial, the abuse from Bedloe's defense lawyers and Anne Carey, the accusations of dishonesty, the dehumanization of the actors in the proceedings, using her experience to their own political ends, the chaos of the mob attacks in protest of the decision, the burden of feeling like a burden, and of course, the unthinkable physical and emotional trauma of the assault itself, Lana, on October 20th, 1793, attempted suicide by using her shawl to hang herself. In the next selection, Thou Glorious Orb, the titular character of the 1791 novel Charlotte Temple, A Tale of Truth, finds herself deceived, ruined, and put away. And here she sings of her despair. The author, Susanna Ralston, claims in the preface that the story is absolutely true. And what a pathetic tale it is. This is unabashedly cautionary. In fact, she pauses the narrative to speak directly to the reader, perhaps even a young Lana Sawyer, and I quote, "Oh, my dear girls, for to such only am I writing. Listen not to the voice of love unless sanctioned by paternal approbation. Be assured it is now past the days of romance. No woman can be run away with contrary to her own inclination. Then kneel down each morning and request kind heaven to keep you free from temptation. Or, should it please to suffer you to be tried, pray for fortitude to resist the impulse of inclination when it runs counter to the precepts of religion and virtue." Thankfully, she was found in time. And even though the trial was devastating, the fight was not over. John Callanan decided to sue Henry Bedloe for seduction. Yes, that was a thing. While this new suit gave Lana a sense of purpose, the dynamics of it were complicated. As has been mentioned, beyond the violation at Mother Carey's, a further injustice was the way in which various agents and entities were looking past Lana and seeing an archetype of their choosing. In other words, in the eyes of many, Lana was not her own. Similarly, a seduction trial is predicated on the notion that a female belongs to someone else. For example, a husband was the custodian of his wife and her consent. Since Lana was not married, the legal approach was not to make the case that Lana was violated, but that the violation placed a financial burden on her keeper, John Callanan. Technically, Callanan's only real financial loss was 3 days at the time of the assault when Lana could not work. However, the climate around seduction suits was evolving so that violation and loss of virginity did figure into the damages. This seduction trial was successful. Callanan was awarded just over £1,800, a sum that could have bought 9 of his houses in Lower Manhattan at the time. This kept Bedloe in debtor's prison for almost 2 years and finished off his reputation once and for all. Toward the end of that span, there was yet another instance of bad actors recreating Lana in their own image. This time, supposedly in a letter in which Lana apologized to Bedloe and assumed fault for the entire ordeal. Actually, it was a letter written by Bedloe or someone acting as his agent.
What an unfeeling wretch I have proved to
shall afford at the same time the highest satisfaction to your affectionate friend, H.S. I am, dear sir, your affectionate friend, Helena Sawyer.
4 months after the spurious letter was dated, Henry's and Lana's fathers agreed on half the original fine. This arrangement was possible because the judge allowed Bedloe to declare bankruptcy, the financial kind. He hadn't needed any permission for the other kind. By that summer, Lana had probably married a man named Frederick or George Steinmetz. After all the backlash from the trial, Mother Carey was run out of town and settled in Philadelphia. As we close, I would like to say a special thanks to you for your attendance. To the wonderful cast of UNC music students, Eden, Isabelle, Cameron, and Ethan. Incidentally, here are the practicalities. I wrote the music months ago, and I released it to the singers, and they learned it on their own. And we rehearsed this week. Our accompanist, Daniel Spiegel, who, considering this story is being centered around a trial, happens to be an assistant district attorney in Durham. To the generous co-sponsors, UNC's Department of History, Department of Music, and Institute for the Arts and Humanities. To Kate Hargrove's beautiful work, Kate, raise your hand. To Kate Hargrove's beautiful work, made possible by the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation. And the Carolina Blue was just serendipity. Nobody planned that. I would like a special thanks to Professors Jeannie Fisher and Tim Sparks. Jeannie is raise your hand, Jeannie's the one who secured these wonderful performers, and she also was helping coach some of the rehearsals. And Tim has been here a lot this week. Hi, Tim. He did a lot of coaching, listening, for clarity of words and, movement. And so I'm very appreciative to them. And finally, to John Woodsweet, where are you, John? Who decided not to delete the very strange email I sent him last November. I did not know him before that. It has been a pleasure reading your book. Getting to know Lana Sawyer and attempting to honor her musically has been one of the greatest highlights of my career. Please stay after I don't know how much time there will be, but the plan is to have a short talk back if anybody has a couple of questions about anything that you've seen here. Finally, I believe Sacred 9 Project is doing important work. On the back of your program is a link and a QR code to help keep you informed of what we're doing and to let you know how you might be able to help. Lana was the first woman in our country to sue for sexual assault. That was her path. However, I'm not suggesting that this should be everybody's path. Parul Sehgal, in her New York Times article, The Forced Heroism of the Survivor, states, quote, "Those who have faced sexual violence are so commonly sentimentalized or stigmatized, cast as uniquely heroic or uniquely broken. Everything can be projected on them, it seems, everything but the powers and vulnerabilities of ordinary personhood," close quote. Recovery is not the binaries of all or nothing or win or lose. Dina L. Moore, PhD and LPC specializing in rehabilitation, helped me temper the lyrics to the finale so that they're not prescriptive. No one can impose a single correct way to heal, and those lyrics are, "We know the kiss was a miss, we felt afraid and betrayed and a sense of hope descending. We know that dark leaves a mark, and now we fight with the night. But the sun is soon ascending. First warp, then weft, next right, then left. Maybe fall, crawl, climb. Are we resigned? Are we defined by one stitch in time? They don't decide who we are. We are our own northern star, and the end is not the ending. We'll act or leave it pending. The path to mending." So what is the cost of courage? And courage in what sense? Any musing on this from Lana's perspective, especially coming from a man 230 years removed, would make me no better than the pathetic puppeteers who spoke in her name. we all have to answer for ourselves. Lana never saw a sewing machine. No bobbin, no presser foot, no buttonholer, no foot pedal. Whatever she made had to be fashioned stitch by stitch. No shortcuts. So it is with recovery. Burdensome, slow-going, introspective. The spoken word in the finale are excerpts from The Sewing Girl's Tale by John Wood Sweet. Around the time Lana Sawyer first encountered Lawyer Smith, a sewing teacher took a perfectly good piece of white linen and cut a series of holes in it, 5 across and 5 down. Some young woman was then to demonstrate her skill by taking her needle and thread and repairing the damage in the style of 25 different fabrics, from simple plain weaves, twills, herringbones, and knits, to intricate textured patterns, stripes, and checks in red, white, and blue. This was a more practical kind of needlework, intended not so much to show off genteel accomplishments as to hone useful skills. The sampler shows its age. It is yellowed and in places stained, but it endures, a silent testament to one generation preparing the next for a lifetime of damage, endurance, and repair.
We know the kiss was amiss. We felt afraid and betrayed, and the sense of hope descending.
A skilled needle can disguise and fortify, but however expertly mended, the original damage remains. The challenge of a mending sampler is not just to mimic specific patterns, but also to reestablish the fabric's tension and balance so the finished repair will lie flat and smooth. Still, under the newly sewn threads lie spots worn thin or torn open, fibers weakened, severed, and frayed. So it is with other kinds of damage. When she first encountered Lawyer Smith, Lana Sawyer was a young woman who both shrank from street harassment and embraced the possibility of a different future. Perhaps the gallant gentleman was interested in her. Perhaps the spark that flashed between them was powerful enough to transcend their social differences and transport her into a new kind of life.
We know the dark leaves a mark, and now we fight with the night, but the sun is soon ascending.
Was Lana naive, ambitious, discontented? Perhaps. But why not focus instead on the fact that all of these labels for female ambition demean and disparage? Why not honor this young woman's faith in herself? Even if others couldn't see past her social station, her work as a sewing girl, Lana Sawyer could. She felt she had a right to a revolutionary dream of human equality. As the last winter of the 18th century melted into spring, Lana Sawyer was more than a victim, a survivor, a prosecutrix, more than a figment drawn in fugitive ink, more than an object in the battles of men. She was her own person. She was, to the extent she could be, the agent of her own destiny.
path to mending. The path to mending. The path to mending.